على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين شفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين وأصحابه المنتجبين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى قيام يوم الدين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أما بعد، السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمسابنا بأبي عبد الله الحسين عليه الصلاة والسلام. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. We began our talks with the hadith attributed to Nabi Isa, and we stated that our discovery of God is inevitably through the self. We start off on this journey of discovery initially to find God because we lack control. We find very quickly that that control is arrived at through our own abilities. And God works through us. And had He worked miraculously, we would not achieve the fullness of our own existence. After becoming confident that we can control the environment, we can cure the sick, prolong life, there is then this rational need to find God within nature. How is it all arranged so beautifully? The workings of nature. We quickly arrive at an understanding that this system, teleology, meticulous working of nature does not require a hand from above. It is working through its own awareness of itself. Subhanallah, the God that we were finding beyond nature is awakening us to His presence with nature. We did not find Him there sufficiently, although He was trying to awaken us. Then we stated, but the human existence has to be a nobler existence. And there has to be an impetus for us to become better humans. We set up a yardstick for that absolute moral existence in the name of God. And God impels us to become better people, only to find that in the rejection of such a formal God, we ourselves are quickly arriving at that moral state from within the human condition itself. Even the one who does not believe in God believes in human values. Didn't Hussein ibn Ali say to those people, if you do not believe in a God or fear the hereafter, at least be a free man in this world of yours, for there are certain standards by which every human being ought to exist. So we found even here, the God that we are looking for is not to be found, but He is realizing Himself through us. Finally, we resorted to the hadith of Nabi Isa again, in which when he found those people whose faces were radiating with the beauty of God, and he asks them, what has brought you to this state? And they said, the love of God. He said, Antumus sabiqun, you are the forerunners. It is here that the first time we begin to find God. But even here, He is the other. We arrive at that level within ourselves where we, for the first time, are able to acknowledge ourselves that I am. That robotic being that has been governing his life finally awakens that I am. I am not everything that the world has imposed upon me. I am not this man. I am somebody else. Beneath all these veils, it is me. At that level, I yearn God. I yearn for meaning. At that level, I say, oh God, I am. I am not that strong person. I'm a very weak person. I need you here at this level. This is the first awakening. And here comes the first glimpse of God. When pretense goes, when the exterior vanishes, when we arrive at that inner awakening. In order to explain this more meaningfully, we may take recourse to that beautiful hadith of the Blessed Prophet, in which he said, and we have repeated this on many occasions, that a person who speaks when the name of God is being uttered, 70 years of such a person's worship has come to naught. We say to the Blessed Prophet, my beard has grown white in the worship of God, and it means nothing because I utter other things and engage in worldly discourse when the name of my God is pronounced. The Prophet quickly responds that had God meant anything to you, your being would have trembled in his awe when his name is being mentioned. The fact that you are so unmoved shows that your devotion has not yielded anything. Because you have never been around. An actor has acted out these devotional acts. You have never been devoted to God. You have never even been awake. You have been sleeping. Kal an'am bal adal, like the cattle, or more strayer than the cattle, more stray than the cattle. You have never been around. Now is the first opportunity for your awakening. You have woken up. You say, I am. You have recognized yourself. Now find God. So it is here that we say to God, oh God, I am in a state of lack and dire need. The first thing that happens here is that we accept ourselves for what we are. This acknowledgement is the first step into the journey towards discovering God from within. You see, we are so private that we dare not look at ourselves as we are. The prophetic narration says that the bravest of you is the one who can overpower his rage, not the one who can wrestle with the strongest man. Ali Salamullah alayhi has said, bravery is with truthfulness. What that means is that the bravest of the brave is a person who can acknowledge himself that this is who I am. Behind all the false veils of pretension, of pretense, this is me, the real me. For the most part, we are hidden away from ourselves. We dare not face ourselves. It's the most difficult thing ever to say, this is what I am truly. You see, we have this, and it's meant to be this way, that I have to hide from you the real me. But the problem is that when I hide myself from you, I begin to hide myself from myself as well. And then I put up a show, and that show becomes me. Allah says, يُخَادِعُونَ اللَّهَ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. They try to deceive Allah and those who believe. وَاللَّهُ يَخْدَعُهُمْ. But Allah deceives them. And in another place, وَتَرَكُهُمْ فِي طُغْيَانِهِمْ يَعْمَهُونَ. And He leaves them in their blind ways, going about life without any meaning. Allah allows me to think that I have fooled Him, and through it I fooled my own self. A false personality leads a life. We don't even see ourselves when we look at our reflections in the mirror, because I will only see what I want to see. There was a beautiful documentary in which it stated that how language affects our perception. They went to some tribe in Africa who did not have names of colors that we have. And because they did not have names of colors that we have, they did not recognize any of those colors. It's amazing. But they had names for colors that we don't have. The colors that we can't see, they can see. So they put a chart with blue colors, and they said to them, which are the different colors? So they all pointed them out. These are different colors. And I said, they're all the same. They're all blue. For them, they weren't blue. They were different shades. And on the other hand, the names of colors that they did not have, we could see on the screen, but they could not see. So when we even observe our image within the mirror, it is not me. It is something that I have made up. So the bravest of the brave is the one who is able to unveil. As we unveil, that is the place we need to be as a start off. It is such a horrible place according to us, but it is such a divine place according to the author. How strange is all of this? That I run away from myself, and he opens his arms and says, run into my embrace. I have accepted you as you are. It's the motherly lap that offers itself. Do you know how beautiful it is? That when we fall into the laps of our mothers and we say, oh mother, I can no longer face my own self. And she says, but I love you as you are. How it empowers us and gives us strength to arise once again. So until that acknowledgement comes at that deep level, and until that acceptance comes from God, the journey does not commence. Allah at that level waits for us, that we finally unveil and say, oh Lord, this is who I am. Oh Lord, what will I do with a God who sits upon a throne so far away? I need a friend, I need him now. Oh Allah, forgive me. And as you know, after forgiving me, I will sin again. How beautifully Imam Zainul Abidin acknowledged himself before God. Oh Lord, even as I seek repentance from you right now, you know and I, that after this moment I shall sin again. Oh Lord, this is my weakness, this is who I am. Oh Lord, do not abandon me. How beautifully he speaks. He says, oh Lord, every time I resolve to stand before you, sleep overpowers me. Oh Lord, do you no longer wish to see me in your presence? Do you no longer wish to hear my plea? Has my voice become so displeasing to you? That acknowledgement at that level is the first finding of God, but even there he is the other. So now here, when this journey begins, when we come to that deep level of what we are, that insecure person, that person who is totally lost, who has no meaning to life, who has just acted out everything that he has acted out. In there is emptiness. And I'll give that example once again. If any of us are in doubt of our true rank, then we should examine ourselves. If he were to take me now, if I were to breathe my last as I speak now, if I am ready to go to him, then at least I've arrived one step close to him. And if I'm not ready to go to him, then that shows that that inner being is still hidden. If I'm ready to go to my grave with all the dangers that it might have, then in that case, I have taken that first step. But if I'm not ready to do that, then I haven't. If the whole of my empire is about to collapse right now, if I'm ready to say, oh Lord, take it all, when was it mine, then I have taken that step. Otherwise, that step still needs to be taken. Now here, at this level, when we open up to God, what we begin to find is that our devotion becomes a different level of devotion. We are no longer devoting to God through our external insecurities, for we know well that if he has kept us alive, he will sustain us, whether we call on to him or if we reject him. It's strange. I beg him to give me a small kingdom, he denies me. The Pharaoh says, I am God, and he gives him everything. Isn't it strange, the ways of God? Aren't they strange? The one who says, Ana Rabbukumul A'la, he gives him everything. Oh Allah, I beg you day and night, you deprive me of everything. How strange is all of this? So my devotion is no longer for my sustenance. My devotion is no longer for my gains. My devotion is no longer from my fears. My devotion here is my intimate belonging with my intimate companion. If I have you, I have everything. If I don't have you, I am lost. Man li ghayruk. Who do I have other than you, O Lord? So when we arrive at that point then, what we find is that He begins to fulfill our lack through His own beautiful self. Whatever is missing here is supplied by Him. So devotion here is that I truly give myself over to my God. Not my body, but my conscious being. I begin to trust in God and in God's discretion. If you are my God, O Lord, then why am I worrying what I cannot control? How beautiful were the ways of the Blessed Prophet. When he sees an army in front of him, he cries out, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. When something is taken from him, he calls out, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. When he faces a task, he says, Tawakkaltu ala Allah. When he leaves his family, he says to Allah, O Lord, Anta khalifati fi ahli wa fi mali. O Allah, as I was with them, you took care of them. Now that I leave them by priority, you will take care of them. As Hussein said, O Allah, when you cared for me so beautifully in my yesterday, shall you abandon me in my tomorrow? When in my yesterday I was unworthy of mention, nor could I think, you fashioned me in the womb of my mother. You provided sustenance for me without me asking in the bosom of my mother. O Lord, should I worry about my sustenance when you are my Lord? If you deny me the breaths of air, then who shall bring it? And if you give me the breaths of air, then who shall snatch it? So at this point here, our devotion becomes far more intimate. The false personality begins to fade. The real one begins to awaken. Now here, what God does is, He allows us to come to terms with ourselves. You see, we are people who are very complex. We loathe ourselves and we hate ourselves. There are things inside us that we find so dark and we can't face. And religion teaches us to condemn ourselves. Doesn't it? Religion always makes us unworthy, doesn't it? Ali says, Kafa bi fakhran an takuna li rabban. This pride is enough for me that you are my Lord. I take utmost pride in you. When I am from you, O God, how can I loathe myself? Allah, on the other hand, says, no. All of these things that are inside you, I have accepted them all. Do not run away from yourself. Mend all of these things. Don't hate yourself. Through me, convert them all into beauty. The greed that you have, that is an heavenly steed. Convert it. Say to me, O Allah, I am a greedy person. And O Allah, assist me in this. And O Allah, teach me that you are enough for me. That if I have you, what else do I need? And it is not such a strange thing to understand. Ask a mother who has a child, and she has a palace, and she craves to extend her palace and to beautify it. But when her child becomes sick, she suddenly realizes that the palace of her palace is her child, not the building. She bargains with God, O Lord, I give this palace away to you. Put me inside a hut, but restore his health. And she says to the child, "Oh child, if I have you, what do I not have? And if you are taken away from me, then this paradise becomes a darkened place." Did Hussein not say that to Akbar? "Oh child, after you, this world has become a darkened place. It has lost its color and its glory." To acknowledge to Allah, "Oh Lord, I am jealous." And Allah will say, "But I have given them whatever I have given them. Come of age, be happy for them, for I have chosen to give it to them. Am I not your beloved? Indeed, O Lord, then I have done it all." It's a beautiful state to be in, where all this negativity is converted into beauty. Mahmud Shabistri says that away with this tawbah. Tawbah is the biggest sin. Cast it to hell. How strange are his words. He says, "Oh Lord, this tawbah prevents me from arriving at you. Every time I wish to return to you, I am reminded of my evil self, and I make myself unworthy of you." And Allah is there, He's saying, "But what stops you from coming to me? Come back to me. Throw away all these garments of tawbah. Presume yourself innocent in front of me. Have that confidence and come to me." So when we find God at that level, everything begins to change. We arrive at a level of beautiful ease, and life becomes a huge opportunity. So let's take the example of Adam and of Iblis as we go forward. Iblis is tested by God. Iblis fails miserably. The reaction he offers is, "Oh Lord, you deliberately did this. You knew I would do this. I would fail. It's your fault. Now watch and see what I do in return." Adam could have turned around and said the same thing. "Oh Lord, why did you even gesture at that tree? You know for a fact, had you not told me not to go near that tree, I would have never gone near it. Why did you do that, oh God? Why did you put me in such a precarious position?" But Adam doesn't say that. Do you know what Adam says? He says, "Oh Lord, I thank you that you created an opportunity to unveil for me my own inner trait that needed to be remedied. Had it not been for this opportunity, I would have not displayed my inner greed and my lack of trust in you. But you gave me an opportunity, O God, and through it, I have discovered my true self. And this is where I am, O Lord, this pitiful existence of mine. Now remedy it for me." Look at the two different responses. One is the response of the veiled. The other is the response of the awakened. So when we awaken to ourselves and we take this gentle step towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the whole world changes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins to replace our inadequacies with His beautiful completion. How wonderful is the story of Ibrahim in this beautiful trust that he has in Allah. As he is arriving within the inferno, of course it might just be depicting a moral, it might just be a Sufi tale, might not have any reality within it, but the state of Ibrahim depicts this sentiment. That Jibreel comes to him and says, "Ibrahim, allow me to save you." Ibrahim says, "Ya'rifu hali wa yughni an su'ali." He knows my state, Gabriel. He is needless of me asking him. If he wants, he can burn me to ashes. If he wants, he can convert the fire into a garden. At that level when we come, the world begins to change. Then we realize, actually, the one that I'm looking beyond myself is being found from within myself. He is the other, yet he is working through me and myself. The only prevention between me and him is me, myself. The only distance that is there between God and myself is me, myself. There is no distance. هُوَ مَعَكُمْ أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُمْ. He is with you wherever you may be. What distance is there between you and your God? Why do you not see? Are the eyes blind? On the day of Qiyamah they will say, "Oh Allah, why have you raised me blind? But you are blind in the world. But I used to see in the world, but you did not see my signs in the world." When was he at a distance that we needed to run to him? How beautiful are those Persian poets. When one of them in their mystical state, he said, "O Kaaba, what be with you? I have traversed seven oceans and lands to come to you. What's so great about you that I have had to toil?" The Kaaba responds. He says, "Your body has come to a house of brick. Had God acquired his place in the real Kaaba within you, I would have left Makkah and run around you. If only you knew what you are, what distance is there?" Does Hussein not say, "O Lord, when were you far that I needed to come near you? You are always near. It was I who has remained at a distance from you." So we begin to understand that the distance that there is me. I am unable to let go of myself. I am so entrenched in myself that I never open the door for him to arrive. How can he arrive? He waits at the door. If I don't open the door, how will he show his face? I have my hatreds. I have my resentments. I have my likes. I have my dislikes. I have my aspirations. I have a broken heart. All of these things are me. All of these things are compounded veils. All of these things are a distance from him. The beautiful soul that wishes to find God arrives in a state of fluidity. The state of fluidity is when we are not stuck, when we are freely flowing. How can a young plant with a covering on top of it grow no matter how much it supplicates? The essential thing that needs to be done is to remove the covering. How do we see the sun when the eyes are shut? How can the Lord of the throne occupy the throne when the door is shut to the throne? So the first thing we need to do is to be able to let go. Let go. All this resentment, all this hatred, all this brokenheartedness, all this dislike. Let it all go. Flow freely to God. For before you and I know it, we will be standing in front of him. And at that time Allah is saying he will not look at them nor speak with them. Why? You look at all, O Allah, but his eyes are shut. He cannot see me. There's a beautiful hadith that depicts this particular sentiment. That after much toil, the children of Adam, after their flesh is burnt trying to cross the Sirat, after they tear away at each other's bodies, after much toil, they will arrive at the gates of paradise. God will say, Ridwan, admit them therein. Oh Lord, they are unworthy of it. Why, Ridwan? They still bear resentment and hatred in their souls. Allah will say, after all this toil, they haven't been able to let it all go? No, O Lord. And your paradise does not allow for the admission of one that has other than you in his soul. Allah will say, let it all go and take your admission into paradise. The children of Adam will struggle to no end. They will not be able to let it go. I want my revenge. Allah will say, Ridwan, show them the paradise. And they will see the paradise. And in that moment, When they become desires of paradise, Allah will say, do you want this? They will say yes. Allah will say, let it go. They will let it go and enter into paradise. Do you know why God will say in that instance? Because if He were to say after that, they will go back to their own selves that we can't let it go. Seize that opportunity. Now that they've mellowed down, let it go and go in. So we begin to realize that actually I am the veil. I am the one who prevents Him from showing His beautiful self. All I need to do is to let go of my own self. Let it go. These aspirations, these wants, this judgmental state, these enemies. By Allah, we will explain this tomorrow, that the enemy that God brings in front of us is the greatest gift Allah has given to us. For had it not been for the enemy that tests us to the core, how would we learn the gems of being godly, greater people, forgiving people, and clemency? The enemy is the greatest gift Allah gives. Poverty is a gift from God. Do you know what happens here? You know those sentiments that the Imams have been echoing in their du'as that we are trying to understand? Look at this beautiful dua, Joshan Kabir. Ya tabib man la tabiba la. O physician for the one who has no physician. Ya kanzal fuqara. The treasure of those in a state of need. Ya sanad man la sanada la. Or the pillar for the one who has no pillar. These sentiments are inner sentiments. Rumi says that that king whose bride became sick and was about to die, and he summoned every physician, and all of them could not cure her. Finally, in despair, he turns to the mosque. For when all doors are shut, only the door of God appears to be open. He runs to the mosque and he falls into prostration. "O Lord, you have given me life, but the life of my life is being snatched away from me." This is how we see the physician who has no physician. But the way the beautiful Prophet and the Imams saw this was that, "O Lord, there is no physician but you. Even if X and Y and Z cures me, it is but your hand that is curing me. It is nobody else's hand. O Lord, you are my treasure. For if I am completed in there through you, and hunger becomes my food, then indeed I am the wealthiest of man. O Lord, if through taking away of the whole world, if I can stand with dignity through you, then I have more than the world. O Lord, even with 30,000 swords, thirsty of my blood, stand in front of me. If I have you, then, O Lord, I have a might that is unending." So this is that beautiful step that we take in the process of awakening and giving ourselves over to God, where God begins to reveal His beautiful self. But the strange thing is that the one that we were looking for, trying to find, is revealing Himself from within us. We begin to understand He was never outside. I was the treasure all along. The life that we yearn for is a life that has never been taken away from us. The strength that we were after was not the strength inside our arms, but the real strength awaiting us from within. The beautiful thing that happens here is that this unveiling of the self unveils the beloved. And the beloved starts to show his beautiful self through the lover. Now the devotion here deepens as we go into it further. The deepening of this devotion is that we begin to fall in love with God so intensely, that we begin to mirror God. Now, what happens here is that if we get one touch of God's presence, then everything falls into perspective. We go back to that example, that no matter how accurately we describe love, if we do not feel emotion, love is not to be attained. Mr. Spock in Star Trek, he will be able to say that this person is experiencing a pleasant emotion known as love. And this person is experiencing an unpleasant emotion known as grief. But Mr. Spock has got it wrong. How? This person who is smiling has a gun pointing at his head from behind. And this smile is not the smile of pleasure. It is a smile of despair. And this eye that is shedding tear is not experiencing grief. It is the eye of a mother that has found her lost child. It is the tear of joy. There is a huge difference. No matter how much we describe, until we give ourselves over to Allah and we feel His presence, nothing is arrived at. Now it is here that we have a prescription, and people have asked me to give certain leads into this. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, remember Allah abundantly, abundantly remember Allah. What happens in our lives is that no matter how much we try, our identities are prevalent upon us, and we are scattered beings. But when we take the tasbih and we start chanting the name of Allah, 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 as Marhum Imam Khomeini says, that outer ceremonial remembrance penetrates within the soul. And when it penetrates within the soul, then we feel the presence of the one that is being chanted. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not needlessly say this in the Quran, would He? Remember me, remember me, remember me. And remember me abundantly. He is saying this again and again. He is not saying this about anything. Remember me, I will remember you. Remember me abundantly. Remember me at daybreak and at the day's end. Remember me after sajdas. Remember me inside the sujood. Remember me after salah. But remember me continuously. And the remembrance of Allah is greater than paradise, he says. Remember me. What happens is that with the remembrance of Allah, we finally feel the presence of God. There comes a moment when we are remembering Allah, and suddenly the question arises, but where are you, O God? And then He replies, but here I am. And for the first time we feel the beautiful presence of God. And that is the first glimpse of God that we get. We go to the story of our beloved and how he is immersed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. On his final breaths, he is eulogizing Allah. The beautiful reception of God. He is radiating. La ilaha illa ghayruk. There is no Allah other than you. O Lord, glory be to your being, and thanks be given to you for the tests that you impose upon us. I will pause here for a moment. I will say, O Hussein, for you to arrive at this stage is indeed grand, amidst the cutting spears, amidst the loss, and the wounds that your heart bears beyond the wounds incurred upon your body. But O Hussein, I ask this question as your lover. Is it easier to die at the point at which you die? Or is it easier, or is it difficult to live beyond that point? Imam Zainul Abidin is asked, What was the most difficult part of your journey? Now he has witnessed the brutal mutilation of his father's body. But he cries out, it was Sham. We ask him, what of Sham was unbearable by you? The one thing that his father was not tested with, he was tested. Hussein had gone into the Alqama. They said, while you sip water of Alqama, we are looting your tents. This man of pride and dignity emerged raging from the Alqama. Shimmer, hold off your man, I am still alive. Come, kill me first. Kill me first, and then advance to them. This is the dignity of Hussein. And it makes sense to me now why he refused to submit. Why, O Hussein? This is a question. You have no brothers or sons or friends. Look at you. You have no strength in you. Every drop of blood has oozed from your body. Your breaths have become constricted. Yet you hold the sword and you fight, O Hussein. You fall, you rise again, O Hussein. Look at the wounds being incurred by you. We hear so much in the maqatil. You extract the arrow and you stand again, O Hussein. You know what the answer is? For as long as Hussein is alive, no harm will come upon his Zainab. For there is a pact that until he is beheaded, they will not advance towards them. This is a man with utmost pride and dignity. So we asked Sajjad, why Sham? He said, for the way in which my aunts and my sisters were paraded within the streets. This was the greatest tribulation that I have faced. He describes that the heads of Abbas and Akbar were placed between the camels carrying my aunt Zainab bin Kulthum. So the people would look at the heads and then they would look at the daughters of the Prophet. We say, O Sajjad, and what? And as he consumed alcohol and boasted of his victory over my father, he would slam the goblet and it would spill into the tray. He took his staff and he poked at the face of my father. You had a good set of teeth, O Hussein. I will say, O Sajjad, how did you bear this scene? I was unable to raise my head. Then who responded to him? It was his sister. Amidst a court of drunkard that stood and finally put an end to it. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون.
Okay, so we shall begin with a short question and answer session. We have some floating mics around, so you can ask those questions. I'll start off with a question from the internet, from online. The question says, you've been critical of religion. Does that mean we should leave religion altogether?
Religion is our lifeline, and these are the divine instructions from the Beloved for us to find Him. When I'm critical of religion is when religion is interpreted from the perspective of the ego, and we make religion a means of division, of strife, not well of the Beloved. The Blessed Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he brought Islam, he brought it to an ISIS type of people who then he converted into the best of human beings. When he brought Islam, people were at each other's throats. He made them into one brotherhood. When he brought Islam, he was so broad, his religion was so godly, so wholesome, that Muslims, Christians, Jews began to coexist with each other. When he brought his religion, barbaric, illiterate monsters became fine spiritual, moral agents, intellectuals, explorers, and the fathers of scientific method. That is religion in essence. What we are doing today is an interpretation of religion based on our own arrogance and ego and our insecurity. Our religion today condemns other than us to hell. His religion forced them to think. Our religion bars us from thinking. His religion said, find discrepancies within my Quran. Our religion says you dare not ask a question when a religious authority says anything. All I'm saying is, cast away religion that is in the name of religion and come to the religion that is beyond religion. I'm sorry.
You mentioned some of the pointers.
Yes. So inshallah, I hope you will come tomorrow as well, yes? So today what we discussed was that there is a barrier between a person and Allah. That barrier is the person himself. Fundamentally because the person has not acknowledged his or herself. And that is what we're talking about, the awakening. Until I am conscious of my own existence, until I move away from this pretentious world. Tomorrow we will talk more in depth about the identity. But until I move away from this pretentious world, I do not awaken. And if I do not awaken, there is no means of coming close to God. God is never to be found and never to be arrived at. God is to be acknowledged and allowed to realize himself through us. So there's a huge difference. Finding God is not traveling from Birmingham to London. Finding God is a seed tearing its chest apart to allow the tree to emerge. Our yearning for God, unfortunately, is interpreted as going from destination A to destination B. Whereas, in the most accurate sense, yearning for God is like a yearning for a tree by a seed. The seed will not travel to a place where the tree is. The seed will give itself up to the tree and allow the tree to emerge. That is the only thing. So we have to relinquish ourselves. Today what we talked of was to admit that inadequacy within the depth of ourselves, to acknowledge and to take a step towards Him. He is still the other. We are still trying to find Him. Tomorrow we will explain that no, He is the one. And we need to let go of ourselves.
Is there any more questions? Just wave if I can't see you. There are some pillars in the way.
Shall we?
Yeah.
Did you?
Unless anyone has any last questions, perhaps we can end the Q&A here. Oh, sorry. Thank you for pointing that out. Who is it?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
This journey, is it time limited or is it something that can be pursued after death?
It doesn't stop with death. It continues. What happens is that because in essence we are not what we are becoming, and the truth is the only thing that persists, and everything other than truth fades away. The only thing is that it becomes more arduous and more difficult. But other than God leaves, because it doesn't belong there anyway. And that is why many of the ulama have interpreted, and I think with the aid of hadith as well, that people of hell, after their due time, after the reformation of the soul, will emerge from hell. And of course, the 7 layers of paradise, they also depict a state of veil from the truth despite abiding in the presence of truth. So even in paradise, the souls may be journeying. But the awakened soul will find no rest even in paradise. It seems that way. Yeah.
Are there any questions, the ladies? Okay, we'll go to the ladies first and then come to you just to give them opportunity as well. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. God is the other as the transcendent, and God is the immanent. So now, when we say He is not the other, this needs to be qualified. At the level of my discovering God, He is not the other. The transcendent God is not the one that I can meet or touch or experience. His majesty is so lofty that I can never feel Him or find Him. The one that I can discover and the one that I can find is the one that emerges through me. But I cannot find Him outside myself, even though we explain that we have found Him outside ourselves. But the journey does not end there, and that is not true finding. There is still a lack and a yearning. So the whole of the being as the being is the beauty of God. But I as I need to find Him from deep within my own self. Even as the transcendent one, He is the immanent one and not the other, as in removed from everything. So when you say that God is transcendent, what we are trying to say is that being at large in its own self is transcendent. But it is all intertwined with the beauty of God, and God is immanent in all of it. Yeah? So He is the one in that way.
Okay. We have a question over here.
Could you clarify maybe the point that you're trying to make about tawbah and how we should almost put it aside in order to reach God and be able to assimilate with Him?
Sure. So the Urafa talk about tawbah of tawbah. So what is tawbah? Tawbah means to revert to that point of origin from whence we have come or we have departed from. Tawbah, therefore, requires us to be mindful of our state of lack and deficiency and our transgression that have removed us from that beautiful origin. So Tawbah means to return to that place of origin by removal of these obstacles that we have incurred upon ourselves. So the sins that we have, yes, the transgressions, the mistakes, the slips, all of that. But constantly remembering them becomes so overbearing on the mind that we become unworthy of God. So Tawbah entails being mindful of the wrongs that we have done. But being mindful of the wrongs that we have done sometimes rids us of our confidence. And at that point, Tawbah becomes a crime. And we have to remove Tawbah altogether. Let's give an example. If a person fails a driving test 3 or 4 times, this example comes with experience. I've never failed it 3 or 4 times, right? I like to say that because everybody believes me when I say it. In any case, if you have failed, I know what I'm talking about actually, 3 or 4 times, what happens is the 5th time round, what happens is that we are carrying that ghost of failure in our heads. And now we are setting ourselves up for failure. Yes? And when we go in with that mindset, we are going to fail. But God's want from us is for us to succeed. The only way we can succeed here is to let go of those memories so that we can regain our confidence and we can pass the test. Same with exam papers. Many people, since they fail a couple of times, they lose their confidence and they fail in successive attempts. Tawbah is the same thing. When we remember our sins, they rid us of our confidence at times. Here God frowns upon such tawbah. He says, consider yourself forgiven now. Remove tawbah from yourself and come to me with confidence because I want you. Does that make it clear?
Shaykh, I'll be checking your bay parking later on.
Sorry?
I'll be checking your bay parking later on.
Sure. I do tawbah from that.
Last question then, and then we'll...
Shaykh, thank you for your lecture. It was really good. Just following up on your last answer, would you agree that this lack of confidence brings about a sense of humility as well? I understand the negative impacts that this lack of confidence can have, but if one is to sort of avert tawbah from his life, not completely, but to such a level where he believes that he has confidence that God has forgiven him, does that have negative implications as well?
Thank you. I think what I'm trying to say, let me explain it a bit better. If humility means lacking confidence in God, then that humility is a sin. If humility means in the presence of God to surrender, then that humility is good. So there are 2 types of humilities. However, with God, there is no one rule that fits all situations. It's an amazing world. With God, at times we go in humility. With God, at times you say to Allah, but Allah, who do I have but you? You actually go with audacity. You say to Allah, but whose door should I run to now? Tell me. This is not humility, is it? This is a lover speaking with the beloved. You know Allah, man li ghayruk. Who else do I have now? With God, you can cry out like Ali says, that it really hurts me that you hear my cries in the pit of hell and you turn a deaf ear and a blind eye. But you know I'm burning. You know I need you here. If you were to leave me with speech, I will cry out to you, Ayna kunta ya wali al-mu'minin, where are you? That's not a sign of humility. That's a sign of despair. At times we go to Allah with confidence. At times we go to Him in companionship. At times we go to Him submissive and humbled. At times we make a bargain with Him. Like the Imam says, oh Allah, if you punish me, what will you gain? And if you give me your reward, what will you lose? Just give me what you don't lose anyway. So the ways with Allah are colorful ways. The only reason why we are stuck is because our religion and culture has imposed a false sense of piety into our heads. As we said the other day, once a child is told that is a bird, the philosopher says the child will never see the bird again. It will only be the construct of their imagination that they see. It's unfortunate that the most beautiful has been introduced to us in definitions and false sense of piety. Go to Allah with full confidence. I had a student, I'm not going to go through the whole of the story, but I was so angry at him, so he came and sat in my car. He was a very big guy, you know. So, and I was the imam of the mosque at that time. And I sat there screaming at him. He said, do whatever you want, you have to forgive me. Shaykh Mahmoud knows him. He used to get angry at me as well. I took hold of his neck. I said, I'm going to kill you on this day. I wasn't going to kill him. I was just pretending to be angry. So I was squeezing his neck. He said, look, kill me, do whatever. His neck was so big, I couldn't even get my hands around him. And I know he couldn't do anything to me because he loved me to that extent. He said, do whatever you want. I know what I did was unforgivable. I know all of that, but you have to forgive me and accept me as I am. He said, because I'm not leaving this car and I'm not going to let you go. I had to lead the prayers. He said, I'm not going to let you go and I'm not going to leave, and you can kill me, do whatever you want, but I'm not going, and I'm not letting you go either. You know, at that point I said, Subhanallah, you know, my heart has melted. Every one of my students would knock and wait for me to answer to come into my room. Yes, they dared not enter. He was the only one who would walk into my room and I would be delighted to see him. And it does something to you, that confidence in God. God, who do I have but you? Man, accept me as I am. This is what I am. You're not going to get anything better than this. Yeah? So tawbah has to be rejected when it becomes an obstacle.
Okay, thank you. We'll end it there. So can we please conclude with the loud salawat?
Allah.